Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and every bank in the world has vanished overnight. No checking accounts, no credit cards, no mortgages, no ATMs. Your paycheck? Gone. Your savings? Whatever you can hide under the mattress. How would you buy groceries? How would you start a business? How would society even function? Stick with me, because the story of life before banks and the quiet revolution that happened after is way more shocking than you think. And it explains why your daily life works the way it does right now. For most of human history, that bankless world was exactly how people lived. Back around 2000 BCE in ancient Mesopotamia, if you were a farmer with extra grain, you didn't deposit it in an account. You might store it in a temple for safekeeping. Priests would sometimes lend that grain to other farmers who needed seed. It was basic, trust-based, and extremely limited. Barter was the main system for thousands of years. The big problem, the double coincidence of wants. You had to find someone who had exactly what you needed and wanted exactly what you had. A fisherman with extra fish couldn't easily trade for new tools if the toolmaker didn't want fish that day. Goods spoiled, livestock died, and arguments broke out constantly. Societies then moved to commodity money, cowrie shells, beads, cattle, and later metal. But carrying heavy bags of grain or gold just to buy bread made trade risky and difficult. In ancient Greece and Rome, temples and private moneylenders offered deposits and loans, but these weren't real banks. Most people still lived hand to mouth. If you needed money for a bad harvest or a big purchase, you went to family or a local lender, who often charged very high rates. Here's a small win for you. This environment is where the concept of interest came from. Early loans carried huge personal risk, so rates reflected that danger. Without widespread credit, big projects like roads, ships, or irrigation systems moved very slowly. Now it's jumped to medieval Europe. Merchants in Italian city-states like Venice and Florence created early bills of exchange, basically IOUs that allowed trade across distances without hauling physical gold. Still, ordinary people had almost no access to these tools. Wealth was kept in land, tools, livestock, or buried jars. No liquidity. No easy way to grow money. But then something quietly revolutionary happened in 17th century London. Goldsmiths, who had secure vaults, started storing people's gold and silver for a fee. They issued receipts. People began trading those receipts instead of with the actual gold. The goldsmiths noticed that only a fraction of people withdrew their gold on any given day, so they started lending out some of the idle gold and issuing more receipts than they had metal to back. Fractional reserve banking was born. They earned interest on loans while paying little or nothing on deposits. It was risky, but it unlocked credit on a scale humanity had never seen before. Think about what that meant. A merchant could now borrow to buy cargo for a ship without selling everything he owned. A farmer could get a loan for better tools or seed. Economic activity exploded because money was no longer sitting still, it was working. Life before widespread banking was precarious. One bad season could wipe out everything. Starting a business was mostly reserved for the already wealthy or well-connected. Social mobility was extremely limited. Today, you tap your phone and send money instantly. Back then, it could take weeks or months with huge risk. Banks didn't just store money, they created the fuel for modern growth. When you deposit money, the bank keeps a fraction in reserve and lends the rest. That loan gets deposited somewhere else, and the process multiplies. $1 supports several dollars of economic activity. It's incredibly powerful, and it explains both rapid growth and why bank runs were once so terrifying. Imagine you're a small shop owner in the 1800s. Without a bank, expanding your business meant begging rich relatives or a local lender who might take a huge cut. With banks, you could borrow based on your plan and character. Millions of people doing this is what built modern cities, industries, and the middle class. Even today, roughly 1.4 billion adults worldwide are still unbanked. In those places, people rely on cash under the mattress or informal lenders charging extreme interest. A medical emergency or bad harvest, can destroy generations. Where banking works well, people build credit, buy homes, start businesses, and create jobs. Banks reshaped time itself. In the old world, your wealth was tied only to what you held today. Banks let you move value through time. Save now, borrow against future earnings, invest for retirement. The real revolution wasn't the bank buildings. It was turning idle savings into productive loans that compound over time. Before banks, economic progress was mostly zero-sum. After banks, it became positive-sum. Your success could help create opportunity for others without you losing out. The most important insight is this: banks solved the fundamental problem of trust and capital allocation at scale. They turned ordinary people's savings into the engine of progress. For you, personally, use the system wisely. Save consistently. Even small amounts become raw material for growth. Build good credit, understand fees and risks, and remember that these tools are neutral. Your power comes from how you use them. We now live in one of the greatest financial innovations in human history. The next time you check your balance or swipe your card, remember you're participating in a system that took thousands of years to evolve.